Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Betting Pros Player Props live stream. I'm Pat Fitzmaurice, and today I'm going to walk you through my 5 favorite prop bets for the conference championship games. And man, it's a little sad. We have one Sunday left with multiple NFL games. We're going to miss it, especially after what we saw last weekend. You could not have asked for a more entertaining set of divisional round games, but the NFL is going to try, and we've got 2 pretty fun matchups with the Bengals visiting the Chiefs in Kansas City and with the 49ers visiting the Rams in LA. So what we have here in front of us is the player props cheat sheet over on bettingpros.com. You can find it by going to bettingpros.com/props, and you will find this glorious cheat sheet, which has fared pretty well, I think, so far in the playoffs. And you can filter this by game, by stat of the prop bet you want to get, by player. It is a handy tool. And what you see in front of you are the top player props based on some aggregated projections versus the numbers that we are getting at various online sports books. So at the top this week, we've got a Jimmy Garoppolo over on passing yards. The aggregate projections are pretty high on Jimmy G this weekend. It's not personally one of my favorites. I'm a little worried about Jimmy's physical condition with the thumb issue he's been having, and also the sprained shoulder that I guess that injury was taken off the injury report. So maybe his shoulder's doing a little better. That thumb might be a problem, and he's been under 200 in both of the playoff games so far, although he did have a couple passes dropped on him last week. I want to start a little lower here at bet number 4, Patrick Mahomes passing yardage. Right now it is set in some spots 289.5, and that's what I last saw over on DraftKings. Our aggregate projection is for 305.96, almost 306. And, never mind that Patrick Mahomes has failed to hit this number in 12 of 17 regular season games. He's a different animal entirely in the postseason. And in 10 postseason games in his career, he has cleared this. Well, actually, check that. In 8 playoff home games at Arrowhead Stadium, he's topped this number 6 times, averaging 318.8 passing yards in those games. And he has averaged 391 passing yards in playoff victories over the Steelers and Bills this season. Kind of interesting that Mahomes has actually not played a playoff road game yet. This will be his 11th postseason game, and 8 have been at home, and then 2 have been neutral sites Super Bowl games. It's a little like the Indiana Hoosiers non-conference basketball season. Sorry, Hoosiers fans. So yeah, I really like the Mahomes overplay here. This game looks like a potential shootout. The implied point total for the Chiefs is right around 30 points. So I think the over on passing yardage is a good play. We're going to scroll down just a little bit further to a couple more bets I like. And let's start at number 16 with the Jamar Chase over. He's projected right now at over 90 yards. And the number for him, here we're seeing it at 85.50 on, it looks like FanDuel. DraftKings yesterday was 87.5. Chase has gone over 100 yards in 4 of his last 5 games. And the only miss there was week 18, which was meaningless to the Bengals, and Jamar Chase played only 5 snaps in that game. So he has been on a roll lately. And of course, the last time Chase went up against the Chiefs, he completely blitzed them for 266 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 of them long ones. And we saw this last week with his catch and run for, I think it was 57 yards. Like, this dude is just a big play machine. Averaged over 11 yards per target during the regular season. So it's only going to take a couple of plays for Chase to hit the over here. And I really like his chances to do it in what's likely going to be a shootout game script. The Bengals have not run the ball effectively since, week 13 or 14 or so, whenever they lost Riley Reef at tackle. I think Joe Mixon has averaged under 4 yards per carry in like 7 or 8 straight games. So really like the passing overs for a lot of the Bengals, and especially Chase with this receiving number. And there's another one here up at number 13, Cam Akers. His rushing yardage total set pretty high. And as John Daigle of NBC Sports Edge pointed out in a tweet the other day, that since week 10, the leading individual rushers against the 49ers every week failed to hit this number. Every single one. I think the highest individual rusher against the 49ers over that span, dating back to week 10, was Joe Mixon with 58 yards. So Cam here is set at 63.5. I've seen it as low as 59.5. At any rate, I really like the under. It's just such a tough matchup. The 49ers held Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon to 66 rushing yards in Green Bay last week, and only 31 rushing yards over the last 3 quarters of that game. When the Rams and 49ers met in week 18, San Francisco limited Akers and Sony Michel to 46 combined rushing yards on 26 carries. And in 2 playoff games, Akers has averaged just 2.5 yards a carry, failing to hit this number both times, despite some pretty hefty rushing totals, 41 combined carries in those 2 games. So I really think this is looking like an under for Cam Akers. I'm going to hit that one pretty hard. And let's go to a rushing over I sort of like. In that same game, Elijah Mitchell, 68.5 here. I've seen it at 70.5 on DraftKings. Mitchell has averaged 23.1 carries and 91.9 rushing yards over his last 7 games. And his 17 carries against the Packers last week were actually, that was his lightest workload over that stretch. So 7 games, they have just been feeding Elijah Mitchell carries. And he's beaten this number in both of his previous games against the Rams. He had 27 carries for 91 rushing yards against them in week 10 and 21 carries for 85 rushing yards against them in week 18. So as far as efficiency against the Rams, LA is pretty tough run defense, but if you're going to give Elijah Mitchell the sort of workload that he's been getting, I really like his chances of beating a pretty modest total here. And we're going to close out with one more that is not on the prop bet cheat sheet this week. This is Tyler Higbee, under 41.5 receiving yards. Strangely, Higbee has scored 5 touchdowns this season, and the 49ers have allowed 6 tight end catches, touchdown catches to tight ends this year. And Higbee has 3 of his touchdowns against the 49ers. So 60% of his touchdowns and 50% of the tight end touchdowns the 49ers have allowed this season have gone to Higbee. So that's kind of unusual. But as far as yardage, he's only averaged 34.5 receiving yards in his 2 games against the Rams. He averaged 37.3 receiving yards during the regular season. And opposing tight ends averaged 34.2 receiving yards per game against the 49ers. So 3 numbers there under 40. And the number I've been seeing for Tyler Higbee is 41.5. So I like the under here. I don't think Higbee is going to have a big game against the 49ers. And folks, that's it. I mean, there is a pretty good menu of options to choose from. There's some other ones that kind of intrigue me. It's sort of a low total again for George Kittle that I'm mildly interested in. It didn't make my top 5, but I like that one too. And I'm going to hit the sides and totals in these games pretty hard. I think I've been riding the 49ers on the money line throughout the playoffs, and I think I'm going to see if I can make it 3 as a charm there. So that's going to do it for this week, guys. Again, please head on over to bettingpros.com. Check out our player prop cheat sheet at bettingpros.com/props. And good luck this weekend. Enjoy your final full NFL Sunday for a while.